Good evening and welcome to this edition of The List on UWW-TV. I'm Matt Ellis alongside Nolan Zopydlowski. For the next few minutes, we'll present our top 5 sports stories of the week and discuss why they made the top 5. Did your top 5 make our list? Let's find out. At our number 5 sports story of the week, the UW-Whitewater women's basketball team are Final Four bound. The Warhawks clinched the program's 4th trip to the Final Four since 2008 with a 68-62 victory against UW-Oshkosh. The Warhawks will take on Amherst in the national semifinals this Tuesday. Do you think the Warhawks have what it takes to bring it home in the Final Four?
I absolutely think that they do. Let's go back to that UW-Oshkosh game. It was very close throughout. It was kind of neck and neck. Oshkosh had a slight lead at halftime, but UW-Whitewater really showed some resilience, really showed their ability to make adjustments at halftime. They came out and they shot 9 threes in the second half. They only had 1 the entire first half. Rebecca Schumacher, who had 22 in that game, had 6 alone. And so, when they're shooting the ball like that, it's very difficult for them to lose. And I think overall they played a really good game and made some great adjustments. As for Amherst in the Final Four, Amherst is a very defensive team, but so is UW-Whitewater. I think it's going to be a very defensive game overall, pretty low scoring. But I think that if Whitewater, who averages more steals and more turnovers forced in the game, if they bring their best defense, they'll get a spot in the national championship game. And at our number 4 spot with the San Antonio Spurs 104-102 victory over the Utah Jazz on Saturday night, Spurs head coach Greg Popovich recorded his 1,336th regular season win to pass Don Nelson for the most in NBA history. Popovich took over as head coach of the Spurs in 1996. In the almost 30 years since, he has led the franchise to 5 championships and has been named Coach of the Year 3 times, tying him with Don Nelson and Pat Riley for most all time. Now that Popovich has the record for most regular season wins, does this make him the best coach in NBA history? And do you think his record will ever be broken?
Yeah, I think it does make him the best coach in NBA history, and certainly this alone didn't make him that, but you're talking about Pop, one of the best coaches of all time, and he's really done this too for so long now. Since 1990, he won his first championship, and with the Spurs, he's made them a playoff team over so many years, so definitely one of the better coaches in NBA history. And then as far as other coaches maybe surpassing this, it's definitely going to be hard to do. Eric Spoelstra is certainly a guy who can maybe do it, but in order to beat this record, you're going to have to be coaching for a long time and get into coaching at a younger age. So we'll have to see, if any coach in the future could really take on this and eventually pass the record. But definitely Greg Popovich, one of the better coaches in NBA history, and certainly a guy that should be, commended for his efforts with the Spurs. Moving on to our number 3 spot, it has been a busy week in the NFL. The NFL's quarterbacks saga continued Wednesday as the Indianapolis Colts traded quarterback Carson Wentz to the Washington Commanders. Wentz looks for a fresh start as he'll line up under center on kickoff weekend for his 3rd different team in 3 years. In other NFL news, the Chargers acquired edge rusher Khalil Mack in a trade with the Chicago Bears. He'll pair up with Joey Bosa to form a strong pass rush duo under defensive-minded head coach Brandon Staley. But the trades didn't stop there, as Dallas Cowboys have agreed to trade wide receiver Omari Cooper to the Cleveland Browns. Out of these big trades, what teams benefited the most, and how will these guys fit on their new teams?
Well, I think kind of a surprising take for me, at least, is that I think Carson Wentz will probably have the biggest impact of all the players we just listed, even though he's probably the worst of all those ones that we just listed. Carson Wentz is a guy who I think is a little underlooked, or is a little underrated, honestly, because Carson Wentz, he didn't really have a bad year last year. He threw for over 3,500 yards. He had 7 interceptions, I believe, which isn't too many. He had 27 touchdowns. So overall, he's been a really good quarterback. I know we kind of knock him a little bit because he was the reason the Colts kind of didn't make the playoffs last season. He really choked at the end of that year. But from what the Commanders had, I think Carson Wentz is going to be a big upgrade. And honestly, I really like the move for the Chargers as well, bringing in Khalil Mack. And they also got J.C. Jackson in free agency. So I think their defense is going to be really one to watch for next season. Probably one of the better ones in the AFC, in my opinion.
Yeah, the Chargers definitely going to upgrade their defense, acquiring Khalil Mack. It works very well for Staley's defense, especially this cover 2 defense needs to get guys on the quarterback and get that quarterback to the ground. So definitely a good pickup for Staley's defense. Then Omari Cooper on the Browns is definitely kind of a shakeup in that wide receiver room, but honestly, this kind of seems very similar to when OBJ went to the Browns. I know a lot of other people are saying that, but Omari Cooper, a guy who's based on timing and precision, we'll see how he works out with a quarterback like Baker Mayfield. We have a big update on the MLB lockout coming up next on the list. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Jitters Coffee House. Located on the first floor of the Wells Towers, Jitters is a student-run coffee lounge and offers a variety of coffee and ice cream-based drinks and is home to many entertaining programs, including live music, gamer trivia nights, and other performances. Coordinate your activity by emailing jitters@uww.edu. Jitters is completely run by volunteers who can earn service hours and even receive a free drink during their shift. Stop in tonight at Jitters Coffee House, where fun events and community come together.
Welcome to the University Bookstore. The University Bookstore provides students with the opportunity to purchase apparel, gift items, textbooks, snacks, supplies, and other necessities right here on campus. The bookstore is also home to textbook rental, where you can find many of your required textbooks. Our friendly staff always goes the extra mile to provide customers with a quick and pleasant experience. Visit the bookstore today to find great deals on everything you need to succeed as a Warhawk.
The UC can get you connected to all your basic needs. Grab a coffee and a meal. Study by the fireplace. Bowl, play, and relax when you want a break from homework. The UC has much more to offer to Whitewater students. Go to the UC's website to see what's going on this week.
Welcome back to The List on UWW-TV. Let's continue the countdown to this week's top 2 sports stories. At our number 2 spot, the MLB lockout is over and baseball is ready to return. MLB and the MLB Players Association struck a deal on Thursday following several days of bargaining. Opening day is scheduled for Thursday, April 7th, giving teams 4 weeks to hold spring training and finish all their off-season business. With that in mind, there are still many free agents to be signed and plenty of trades to be made. Teams acted fast as the Atlanta Braves acquired first baseman Matt Olson from the Oakland A's. Shortly after that trade, the Minnesota Twins acquired pitcher Sonny Gray from the Cincinnati Reds. What are some moves that you're hoping to see before the start of the new season? And are you now excited that we know baseball is officially back?
Yeah, definitely excited baseball is back, and now we're starting to see where these guys are landing. There's still a lot of guys that we're going to have to see yet where they go. Trevor Story, one of those guys, maybe he could go to the Phillies, maybe the Yankees as well. One of those teams probably paying about $25 million a year to get Trevor Story. As far as Matt Olson going to the Braves, definitely a good pickup for them. You're getting a guy who is a great hitter, kind of a younger Freddie Freeman, guy who's going to hit at least 30 home runs for you probably the next 5 or so years. Probably going to crack 40 home runs a couple times in a season. So Matt Olson, a really good offensive first baseman. So for the Braves, you're not really missing that Freddie Freeman production. It's a little bit surprising Freeman is going to be leaving the Braves, but hey, I guess he couldn't get enough money in Atlanta, so he's going to have to go somewhere else. But a lot of good baseball moves are being made, and it's just nice that baseball is back. We're starting to see where these free agents are falling. Still a lot of guys to go, like Chris Bryant as well. We're going to have to see where he goes. Maybe the Mariners are a team where he can go. Philadelphia certainly is going to want a guy like Chris Bryant, so definitely a lot of dominoes still left to go. But for our number 1 story of the week, Tom Brady is back, and he's returning to professional football. The NFL was sent into a shockwave on Sunday night after Brady announced that he would be coming out of retirement. The Buccaneers quarterback originally announced that he was done with football on February 1st, but just 40 days later, he reversed his decision. This is great news for the Buccaneers, but terrible news for the rest of the NFC South. Is it safe to say that the Buccaneers will be once again a top team in the NFC and coast to the division title?
Well, I think they'll absolutely coast to their NFC South title. The only way I see this possibly not being an easy title for them is if the Saints somehow acquire Deshaun Watson. Even if the Panthers acquire Deshaun Watson, I really don't think that they'll be much of a contender. Maybe they'll sneak in the wild card race. But I think this is the Buccaneers division to lose now, and honestly, the NFC could be as well. You think about the Packers and the Rams, the defending champion LA Rams. Those are really the only two other big contenders I can see kind of competing with the Buccaneers. Obviously, the Packers are having some cap issues themselves. They did get Rodgers back, but now Adams is kind of saying he will not play on that franchise tag, so that'll be something interesting to look forward to. But really, I think it's between those three teams for the NFC. And as for the NFC South, the Buccaneers get back a huge piece. This automatically makes them Super Bowl contenders again. And like I said, unless the Saints can somehow acquire some big-time free agents, I don't see them competing, and I don't see the Falcons or Panthers really giving them any run for their money either.
Yeah, I mean, Tom Brady back in the NFL. I mean, what's new? You got to see the guy. He's been starting this league for so long, but I think Brady saw the shape of the NFC and thought, why would I not come back? Especially as you said, there's really only three teams at the top in the Packers. If you're the Buccaneers, are you really scared of them at this point? But Tom Brady's definitely got some work to do within the NFC still. And that will do it for this edition of The List. We'll be back next week on UWW-TV to talk about more sports headlines. For Nolan Zopydlowski, I'm Matt Ellis. See you next week.